Ujjayi, and welcome to the Get a Gaze podcast. We are here live in Fort Lee, New Jersey, reporting to you live. Before we get started, we'd like to acknowledge all the forces in the non-material, all the ancestors that are standing behind this great work, particularly the founder, Nebnabala Musamora Dinabig, really the ancestor that we could say is responsible for everything that you guys see us bringing to you, and to open up the Kemetic knowledge to the rest of the world that has been hidden for thousands of years. So, Nebnabala Musamora Dinabig, we're acknowledging you, we're acknowledging all the other ancestors that are standing behind this great work. Your ancestors, our ancestors, everyone's ancestors that brought us together tonight. All the forces in the non-material, the deities, the powers of nature, everything, we're acknowledging you. And before we get started, a word from our sponsor, Sauce Hot Sauce. Tajh, if you don't mind, if you would read our Sauce Hot Sauce.
I read like a first grade, by the way.
It's okay.
Sauce Hot Sauce began in 2007 when a small group of students traveling in West Africa were trying to think of ways to support charitable projects. One of the students traveling happened to be an arsenal hot sauce chef.
Artisanal, but it's okay.
Hot sauce chef.
You really did.
He told you. Shout out soccer fans.
It's like, I can't read.
I said it right first time. And right there, Sauce Hot Sauce was born. Since then, Sauce Hot Sauce has prided itself on making exceptional artisan.
Don't ruin our sponsorship.
Our sponsors are going to be like, oh, we don't want to sponsor you anymore.
High quality ingredients to support good causes. We continue to do this with the best and tasting offering of sauce flavors to date, with a focus on supporting displaced families in the Fada Ngwema region of Burkina Faso.
Wow,
with the revenue from our sales. Sauce Hot Sauce.
We all know that Tajh is just a little bit, nervous, that's all. It ain't got nothing to do with Tajh's reading. So before we get started, we're going to hop right into rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
And as you guys can see, Tajh's is not here, right? So shout out to Jamaica. Tajh's is in Jamaica. Mm-hmm. He's back in his natural habitat,
real
homeland.
Boy.
Yeah, we can't walk, we can't breathe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Tajh's Riemann.
Bad man.
Let's go, Jordan.
Okay,
Please stop
let's
this man.
Yeah, let's do. Before I start doing more Jamaican impressions, patois.
All right, so it's time for rapid fire. Current events, news articles, and things to keep on your radar. And we're going to start with Russia. Russia, China and these countries keep being brought back into the news feeds. And recently, Putin signed a law banning gender changes in Russia. So this act was passed unanimously, and it prevents the changing of your gender through surgical procedures, or even changing it on your birth certificate, or even getting married as a changed gender. So of course there's going to be outrage from the West and from those in the country who have expressed gender change since the 1997, 1996 time frame, but never changed in Russia.
So shout out to Putin.
Vladimir.
For cutting through all the BS and all the nonsense, because I know that here in the West they keep catering to everybody's, craziness in terms of changing, and delusions in terms of changing their gender. So shout out to Putin. Keep holding it down. Don't let them change. We got a Russian right here. Say something in Russian for all the Russians, please. Yeah.
By the way, my name is Ibtehuti Hekwapi.
Oh yeah. I'm so
I'm
sorry.
here in place of Tajh and we have Tajh.
Nice to meet you.
You could never replace you.
You could never replace Tajh. Shout out to Jamaica.
Oh, I'm a standby. But yeah, I'm
You're
Russian.
the wrong color. Stand by there.
It depends where you're looking. But yeah, I guess I'm Russian, like my nationality, but really like my family came in the 70s, so it was all like one region at that time. It was like what we call Sovietsky Soyuz, but really my father is from Ukraine and my mother's from Belarus. But I think it's really interesting what's going on in the media with Russia and Ukraine, because really what we're not...
He's been waiting for this.
Yeah, what's really not being portrayed is really how Putin is trying to keep Westernization away from Russia. He's really seeing how Ukraine is being Westernized. Ukraine wants to be part of NATO. They want to put nuclear arms right, on Russia's border. But really, like, Russia is like, they have a lot of culture still that they've retained, a lot of tradition. And really, that's what they're trying to protect at the end of the day. And they, it's like the media is really like another form of Hollywood in a way. If you really
an extension.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So really, like in the movies, you have like the Russians, and the Russians are always the enemy.
Yeah, they
the
always
Chinese
beating
are
people
always
up.
the enemy. The Koreans are always the enemy.
That's
You know
true.
what I mean? But you never really like.
Oh, you don't like Korea?
Yeah, and that's all you know, and that's how you look at it. So we always look at it with that lens here in the West, but really there's actually a lot of history between Ukraine and Russia that we don't really like know about because the media tries to portray it in a certain with a certain agenda.
Yeah, so Putin's not as bad as they're trying to make him out to seem.
At all.
He's just protecting the culture that the Russians are still holding on to, because, I mean, the Russians are really just like white Africans. They're just like Africans with like a white skin tone.
Drop a bomb.
Bomb. So would you say that,
Shout out to Russia.
similar to Putin, would you say that Trump is doing the same, trying to do the same thing in America, trying to preserve, make America great again ideal? Like, how would you compare,
Shout out to Trump.
you know?
Wait, so they're trying to, can you give us more context?
Yeah, if you're saying how, like,
No, he was asking a
Putin-
question.
Yes, I'm asking a question. So, like, how Putin is trying to, like, preserve the way of life in Russia.
Yeah.
How Trump was running under the idea of preserving the way of life in America, like preserving the American standard.
Yeah. I mean, so I think there's a difference between the American standard, because, I mean, if you really just look at like real traditional values, then you're just talking about like indigenous way of living, right? And then they can kind of try and warp it and put it under different umbrellas, which is where you get the whole notion of like religion and all those kind of things.
Politics.
Because you're just talking about like original indigenous values that they just take and warp into something that closely resembles indigenous values. So yeah, of course. So for Trump to say that he's trying to preserve like the like original American way, you're just talking about like indigenous values that have been warped over time and that have been politicized. So yeah, I mean, of course.
The man's just not a liar.
Yeah, I mean, Trump's just about that life, bro. Like, I mean, hey, I don't vote, but if I was voting, I'd vote for Trump. Yeah. Shout out to Trump. I hope he gets the nomination. I hope he wins. Yeah, I said it.
All right, y'all. So next topic. The era of global boiling has arrived. Says
Global
UN chief.
boiling?
Global boiling, yes. As July says the hottest month on record in recorded scientific history. So this is measuring the global surface temperature at 17 degrees Celsius on average, which is the highest that science has ever recorded. So now this is more, proof for these scientists and globalists to say that climate change is here and it's terrifying and we have to fight it.
I want to know what the
How long
thermometer
has
looks
science
like.
been around?
Yeah,
What
when
does-
did science
Is
start
he-
recording?
When did science start recording? Yeah.
What
Yeah.
does the thermometer look like to
Yeah.
record the world temperature?
Yeah. And how do we know their records aren't being like fabricated?
Like science compared to like the how old the Earth is like the age of Greta Thunberg. let's be real.
don't
like,
get canceled. If they hear you talk about Greta Thunberg, they might cancel you.
That was a good one.
Not that anyone is afraid of getting canceled. You can cancel us. We don't have anything to
Oh,
cancel.
We're already canceled. That's the point.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, but you know, hey,
That's just-
shout out to the fake scientists.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
the
they're not
UN
really
and-
real. Yeah, I mean, look, if you're out there and you really think like science is really telling you the truth, they're not.
I mean,
Okay.
they're also hypocrites as well, right? Like, you have these massive technologies where they can pretty much create their own weather, right? So you have things like cloud seeding where they have the ability to manipulate the weather itself. So now you have the same people that's saying climate change or global warming where they're also manipulating weather without in the world as well. So it's like,
Well, they're
it's-
trying to.
It's like the
It just
COVID
like-
thing.
yeah,
it's
it's
like
like-
problem, solution. All right. The problem, outcome, and then solution. Like they're giving you all three of them. There's not any space in between. So
I mean, it's like a really bad attempt to what the indigenous were doing in terms of submitting themselves and then mastering nature. And what they're trying to do is they're
that's
trying
like
to
the complete opposite.
do the opposite.
It's like the
Yeah.
shout out to Nikita again. It's the rebellion
It's like-
against
yeah, it's
nature.
a
You're
rebellion
not
against
trusting
nature.
yourself.
It's like they're trying to quantify the unquantifiable because they can only really quantify what they can see
That's a good way to put
at
it.
the end of the day.
Exactly, well said. And this is a society of proof. If there's no proof, it doesn't exist. If you have evidence or facts, anything
I want
can
to see
go.
the thermometer.
Yeah, I wanna-
That's the
yeah.
proof for me. If
It
you
was
show me the
hot. The shit's
thermometer,
ready, though.
Keeping records on a Google sheet. Where are these records?
It was hot today.
Yeah,
All right,
it was hot.
But you
All
know,
right, so next topic. We have the man who lived like a goat. So we have Thomas Thwaites, who had the alter ego of Goat Man for a week. It's quite interesting. So essentially, he visited a shaman,
oh, I saw this video.
and he told him that, you know, I like climbing, goats like climbing. The shaman told him to become a goat.
What?
So he then went to create, you know, these
Yeah.
prosthetic limbs that shifted his weight 60% to his front limbs so that he can walk on all fours.
he eats grass
He
too.
went through a brain.
Why do you guys know about this?
Because I
I
looked
just
it
saw
up.
the video earlier.
I picked this
Okay,
topic.
just keep going. Keep going.
And he also had a magnetic stimulation to his brain to temporarily interfere with his bronchus area of the brain, which made it hard to speak. And this was to simulate the sensation of a goat in their mental process.
Yo.
The goat can only live in the here
Sure.
and now, as he was told. So he couldn't erase his memory. So that was the closest he could get.
Damn.
He said
Wait,
that
so-
he made a friend. One of the ghosts was like his friend, and that, you know, they at first they were nervous or anxious around him, but over 2 days' time, they became like family.
So was he having sex with the goats?
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, like-
Is this
yeah,
an
like,
excuse
how
to
far
like
did he
engage
go?
in
That's the
bestiality?
question.
If you produce some goat
It's not
milk,
bestiality if he's a goat.
Like how
You know.
far
He
along the
identifies as a
lines of
goat.
being a goat was this guy a
I
goat?
believe him.
I think that's
Believe
gonna
what?
be.
If he produced some goat milk,
You have to subscribe to his Patreon for that.
goat milk is good.
Wait, so he's selling
No, I'm
all
joking,
of the
no.
information? Really? Tutami, you had us.
No, that's
See,
wild
like
though.
that brings you back to like the whole. That's no different from like a transgender in my head. Like the ability of thinking that you're something that goes or opposes your entire nature, right? And you can't convince a person that they're something else compared to what they think they are or what they feel they may be, right?
Yeah. Andrew Tate's brother said it very cleanly, and he just kept it real. He said that whole thing is like a girl with a boob job coming to you and saying like, I identify as a woman with big boobs because
Plastic surgery.
I was born
Yeah, it's all
in the
just
wrong
plastic
body,
surgery, yeah.
and I was meant to have these large breasts, but I wasn't born that way, so I had to get this surgery to reaffirm my boob size. So it's no different.
It's no. I mean, that's just like sickness. That's like mental sickness. Like if you think you're a goat, and then you go see a shaman. Like, where is this shaman from? Like, what kind of shaman are we talking
Get
about?
a refund.
Yeah. Like, do they say where the shaman is from? Is like, are they from St. Mark's? Like, where are they at?
That wasn't disclosed. Yeah.
That wasn't disclosed.
Of course.
And then
it
you can
wasn't.
just be out here saying like a shaman told you to do it, and you can just be doing it.
Facts.
You say St. Mark's.
Yeah.
Shaman on 125th.
A shaman on 145th.
So speaking of strange realities or ways of living our lives, there are now dating apps that can basically be your girlfriend.
Be your girlfriend.
Exactly.
The
so
app?
There's an app called Genesis AI or Genesia AI.
Genesia.
And it could be your friend, your
Why gotta be
girlfriend, it could be
Genesia?
your mentor. You can ask it questions. You can basically, it could be your companion. So this AI becomes the perfect companion for anyone who wants to, feel like they have a social life and want to be included. And there's other apps like iGirl, which is an AI-powered chatbot girlfriend as well. And
It's called
others are coming down
AdGirl?
this nature.
iGirl.
iGirl, yes.
iGirl.
So with virtual reality, artificial reality, augmented reality, all of these different things, AI, it's getting interesting, our social dynamic.
Who's the guy from Gladiator, the actor?
Russell Crowe.
No, the Caesar.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, what was the movie Joaquin Phoenix was in
Her.
where he was? Yeah,
It's
right.
called Her,
Where he
yeah.
was like he had like a virtual girlfriend and it was like this cell phone thing that he kept in his
haven't seen it.
pocket.
I mean,
Yes.
even the Blade Runner movies, like
Okay, yeah.
like
Ex
you-
Machina.
Yeah,
Mhm,
like
yeah.
And Cyberpunk as well. The
yeah, like they've been
they
talking
add
about
a-
this for a
say
long
it.
time.
Cyberpunk, they add a little extra kick to it. Like they the virtual
Tell us
Oculus,
more, Todd.
Take a
They
drink,
had a
Todd is like,
AI
I'm speaking
fleshlight.
from
I like that one a
experience.
little bit extra.
Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising
Yeah.
that, because people don't have like social skills anymore.
But nah, that's all. Master Nava talks about this in the philosophy podium. Pornographic values. It's like crazy.
Get your copy at risingfirefly.org.
Like it really is like sad when you really think about it. Like how can you be a human being and be coming from a mother and a father and then get to a point where you start to think that you don't need that to build that same connection with another person to have like that happiness in your life. That's really where it comes from. It's going to come from another human being of the opposite gender, that you can actually procreate with and
And not
do those
someone
kinds
that
of things.
changed their gender either.
Right.
You can't be a man with a fake vagina
Exactly.
or a woman with a fake penis.
Exactly.
It's got to be like the real, like
you
a
for
real
that
man or a real
clarification.
woman. We just got to make sure they know.
It's a disclaimer, just so you know. So, next topic. Things that we didn't know, the Department of Defense spends more on Viagra and king crab than on bridge repairs. and
Pornographic
school
values
lunches.
again.
School
Wait,
lunches.
say that again. You said the Department of Defense.
spends more money in their budget on Viagra and king crab than on bridge repairs.
King
King
crab?
crabs.
Crap.
Yeah.
Bro, it
Oh,
was
king
like
crabs.
It was like
Yeah.
1.7 million
On
Yes.
what?
on crabs.
Yeah.
Wait, when you say the
and on school
Department of
lunches.
Defense, are you talking about like the military?
Yeah, all of them.
Yes.
All of them? How much money are they spending on Viagra?
Because the Department of Defense, extends beyond just military forces.
Yeah.
Let me see the numbers.
It was millions. I saw this video.
So these people are going to war and they're killing people, like for our freedoms. Like, yeah, of course. Like, why aren't they having sex? Like, they should be out here just like, yeah, they're dying.
Well, the
Shout out to the
the
boys.
focus
Yeah.
was that they spend more on that than on our actual
Viagra?
on infrastructure and on school.
Wait, hold on. Can you pause for 1 second? At Ancaster Natural Healing, we have natural Viagra for
A-Rise.
all of your
Can.
military complexes. A-Rise. Can.
All
It
natural.
is here for you, all natural. Derived from the secretion of 40 goats. It is here for you to take while you're out there defending our freedoms. You don't have to spend millions of dollars. We are here and we have your back. 40 goats.
For real.
On Costa Natural Healing.
All natural.
Now, is the
Send that
Viagra for people?
to the military.
Is the Viagra for people that are suffering from like PTSD? Or
Supposedly, yeah, that was like a
But-
thing. They were saying that
can't get
a
it
lot
out.
of this funding is supposedly because the military funds everything that happens for the veterans as well. So they're
the
trying to say that
veterans-
the veterans that have PTSD, injuries, all that kind of
You
stuff.
know the
they get
generals
it.
are out here with Viagra.
There's how many homeless
Listen,
vets and things.
If I'm stationed in Asia and I'm like 60, 70 years old, I'm using Viagra and I'm hitting everything that moves. Like if I'm a general at war,
My brother's being honest.
like I'm out here, I'm using Viagra and I'm gonna use it on any woman that moves.
But we don't need that because we have our
Yeah,
Costa.
exactly.
Yeah.
40 goats. ANHlife.org. A-Rise.
All natural. All right. So we have 18-year-old, this is an unfortunate situation. An 18-year-old Miami woman arrested after allegedly trying to hire a hitman to take out her 3-year-old son. What? So this woman apparently had a boyfriend, a partner, who didn't want to be with her because of her son. So she hired her hitman to take care of her through this shady website, and they were able to track her IP address to catch her and the hitman. She paid them $3,000 to do the job. Luckily, it wasn't done.
That's terrible.
So $3,000 for a hit on her own son.
What website is this?
I think it was,
No, like,
it was,
where
a,
did
I think
they
it was
do
a fake website that's set up.
Hitman.com.
A hitman. I just
set up
want to
to
know
catch
so that
people.
I can start doing ads like that and then not follow through and then just take people's money and
Just
be like,
send it
yes,
to the
yes,
cops.
yeah, exactly. I will kill your wife or your husband, whoever you need. Just sell me the $3,000 right now, and it will be done in the morning. That sounds like the greatest con job ever.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's terrible. You're a terrible person, the 18-year-old, but that's like a kid. Like an 18-year-old, that's a child.
So she was trying to get with a guy, and then
It's an
because of the
adult.
kid,
Yeah, but like,
Just like
why
take
do
the
you
kid
gotta
out?
kill? At least give the kid back to the father.
just give it to your grandma.
Yeah, like give the kid,
Or
the
your
kid to
aunt.
somebody else. You ain't gotta kill the kid.
That's crazy.
Damn.
That's mental illness too, though.
Right.
I feel bad for that woman. She's 18, like
Is she gonna go to jail?
probably.
Oh, yeah.
That's that Florida stuff.
She got.
Oh, that's Florida.
That's a Florida one, yeah.
If you
Is that
would've-
Miami?
If the,
It's
if
something in the
the,
water
if the
for-
title, if the headline would have read Florida
Yeah.
woman before
Exactly.
everything you said, it would have just made
It would
sense.
have made more sense. Yeah.
Florida's different.
All right, so
I need to put ads up on that site.
Get better, sis.
the
Yeah.
dark web goes deep. So last topic of the day. And this is really just around the sports and things getting really, in America, being demasculinized and becoming softer and softer. Karate fighter gets disqualified out of the Olympic Games gold medal for hitting too hard. This was in 2021, right? Karate fighter from Saudi Arabia knocks out or wins his match in the gold medal fight. This would have been the first gold medal for Saudi Arabia in Olympic history. But because he hit him too hard, essentially, he was disqualified and got the silver medal. So this topic comes to show, like, even in other sports like football and basketball and other soccer, how being too aggressive or or fighting too hard or pushing too hard tends to be penalized these days.
Nah, that's being too dark skinned. The dude was dark skinned. That's it.
Oh, was it a black
Case
dude?
closed. It was a black dude.
Oh, it was a black dude
Knocked
representing
out some
Saudi
light-skinned
Arabia.
dude.
Was it an African representing Saudi
I
Arabia?
think
Because
so.
they do that.
I
Yeah,
think
they do
so.
that.
I think so.
But he
They'll
was-
go
he
and
was-
they'll
he was-
pay
he was-
Africans to represent Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, yeah,
Because Saudi Arabia just trash at sports.
yeah.
So then they'll just go buy people.
Bro, I saw the video. He like kicked a dude one time in the face, and the dude fell out. And it was over. It's like you lost,
Oh,
bro.
I don't think you can KO people in karate, though, right? I think
I
you
don't
get
know.
penalized
Like,
or
you get
disqualified
hard,
for
you
it.
get knocked out, it could be-
I mean, it's
It's a fight,
It's a fight.
bro.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Come on now. Like, even when I was wrestling in high school, like, you can't slam a person, like, really hard. Because you lose points or get disqualified for that shit. Pause. No pause.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
But
Here we go.
so yeah.
next topic?
Ibtehuti, back to the. I mean, not Ibtehuti. Tutana, back to the topic. Yeah, I mean, I think this kind of ties into our topic today, because we were going to talk about like how real spirituality is difficult, and like how like nowadays, like people don't actually want you to do anything that can kind of like challenge them. So yeah, of course it makes sense that they would soften everything, because I want everybody to be like super soft nowadays, which is why they're doing everything to kind of demasculinize everybody or like feminize everybody. So I mean, it makes sense that you can't hit too hard in a karate match and you'll get disqualified, because they want everybody to be like super soft. It's not surprising, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if we talking about like, you know, competition or something like that, it's like, yeah, man, you gotta expect that somebody's gonna be more powerful. You can't be mad at the person for training for that. Like, that's exactly what I trained for, to be more powerful. And when my foot went up, your face was there. And you went
then
down.
I mean, if I was
that's it, bro.
I
Don't
was
get
in a
into that kind of
karate match,
sport if you don't
yeah.
get knocked out.
I mean, I love the UFC. Gosh, I love the UFC. I love boxing. I love combat sports. Like, yeah, like competition. I think it helps you as a human being get better. So there's nothing wrong with competition. If you take competition personal, then that becomes another thing. But if you can like actually take competition and use it in a like a
Constructive way.
healthy way, like where you don't allow it to consume you, then I think competition is good in sports especially. But now it's like those losers nowadays, like the kids that are growing up, and then they give you, everybody gets a trophy even if you lose. Like, because all it does is it creates like a bunch of losers, and then like people are like, oh well, it's all right that I lost. And it's like at a certain point, like you have to have a little bit of a backbone where you're not trying to lose,
Right.
and like where you want to win in whatever it is that you're doing.
I'm gonna come
To
back
some
to
extent.
this. I have a good point to think about that, but we can come back to it later.
No.
Tutani, you got another one?
Well, it's also like
No, that was
That's
it.
it?
You can make you
But
can make it.
it's
bang.
also like people that have those stickers on their cars, like "I'm a new driver," like
Loser.
Be nice to me, like drive your car, learn to drive.
Shout out to my cousin
You know?
Kevin. He's a very experienced driver, and he just puts that on his car so that
Oh, does he?
people don't honk at him for doing crazy stuff.
I need that.
Kevin. But yeah, the point that I was gonna make, you know, really I've been thinking about like the difference between emotion and logic. Like, it's something that we in the West don't really like to point at, because there's a misunderstanding of how it is approached, right? So there's a story that Master Nava actually told one time, and he was like, so there's a man that like walks in to his home, and he finds out that his wife is having an affair, right? So what he can tell that it's happening in the next room, but he doesn't go in. He just waits in the kitchen. Right? So he waits there, and he sits, and he puts his gun on the table. Right? So he waits for the guy to come out of the room. The guy comes out. He's like, "Oh, hey, did you have fun?"
Oh.
And the guy is like, yeah. And he's like, "Oh, okay. Well, you know, my problem with the lady is like one thing, but my problem with you is like something else, you know? Why couldn't you just take her to your own house, or take her to a hotel, or go somewhere else?" Okay, well, you know, since you had fun, I want to have fun now. So maybe you should have gay sex with me.
Oh.
And the guy's like, he sees the gun on the table. He's like trembling. He's like super scared. So he's like, yeah, like maybe that's what should happen. And then, you know, I get to have fun, you have fun, and then you get to go home. So the guy leaves. He never wants to come back to that town. He never wants to hear about it again, right? So it sounds mean to like a regular person that would hear that. It would sound very mean. And you would think that it's almost like so premeditated, right? But that's just how like emotions and logic works. If the emotion comes first, then the logic can't really operate in a way where it motivates you to do something that's like good, or something that, you know, actually is constructive or productive. But when the logic comes first, it becomes like a force that the emotion can ride, or the emotion can fuel the logic, and then that can lead to something constructive. But 9 times out of 10, like, people are just walking around trying to get revenge on someone else for something that they can't really like quantify within themselves. They don't take the time to sit down and be like, hey, like, I could be doing this differently, or how did I allow for this to happen, or, you know, what steps did I really make that got me into this situation? It's just like, how can I make myself the victim in this situation and then sort of apply some sort of repercussion to the next person, you know? And it becomes a very big problem because in a society, the only thing that you're really counting on is the children. That's why the big thing with the transgender stuff right now is like they're trying to teach your children. They're trying to go and figure out how they can get to your children so that the next generation, they won't have to worry about you saying that it's not good for them to be transgender, because your children will just be telling you that you can't say that. So, you know, parents really knowing how to approach life in a way where you're not making decisions or trying to apply some sort of a logic when your emotion has already gotten into the situation. That's like it's a huge thing, you know, even with all of the topics that were brought up today, like the thing with what was it with Putin, right? It's just a logical decision. Putin just sees that, like, okay, eventually it's the culture is going to deteriorate. So let's take a step to make sure that doesn't happen. You know, maybe Putin doesn't have anything against transgender people, but it's just like, hey, you know, do what you want on your own terms.
He's Russian Orthodox.
But this is Russia. I mean,
Like Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a question, right? And this is me, you know, being a person outside looking in, right? What exactly are
outside looking into
right, emotions and logic? Because when I think of logic, I think of a process of something that leads you towards a no, something that you know that leads to something. And the emotions are basically feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, when it comes, let's say you're going into a situation that you can't logically process, but you have a hunch, which do you choose in that moment, right? So, in a way, like, say if I'm a person that is embedded within this new age spirituality, and I say that I'm claircognizant or clairvoyant or clairsentient, and I feel that this is the right way to go, and I've always been 90% accurate with what I'm empathically feeling, and I base my reality based on what is I'm, you know, necessarily using my abilities for. How does logic better that?
I mean, you could have a logic for anything. You could have a logic as a serial killer, and then that logic can be very solid. So, I mean, logic is not necessarily the thing that you want to base your life around. Because you could have a logic for anything. Your logic as a artist, and your logic as a serial killer, your logic as a, you know, as a con artist, your logic can be solid. Like, there's a story about a con artist, right? And he had duped this guy, and this guy was I think he was a police officer. So he shows up, and he's like, I know that you've duped me, right? And he comes in, and he shows up at the guy's hotel, and he's like, you know, I'm going to go and, like, I know that the thing you sold me doesn't work, and I'm going to go and I'm going to, you know, tell everybody. And then he was like, what? He was like, really? He's like, the thing's not working? And he was like, maybe, like, you just weren't using it correctly. And so what he does is he says, I'm going to give you a refund. And what he does is he gives them, like, a bunch of money back, right? And then the guy just sat and waited for weeks. And eventually, what happened is he found that guy got arrested for using fake money. And the thing is like, you can have a logic that can be very solid as a con artist, but it doesn't necessarily mean that logic is necessarily beneficial to you in the long run.
Okay.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that you can base your whole life around the logic that you're used to using. Because you have to really question and look at yourself and say, like, hey, where am I learning the things that I'm learning?
Where's the logic coming
What's the
from?
goal?
Yeah, and you can have like a pretty good guess rate. Because I mean, to me, it just sounds like you're talking about guessing.
Right.
Like, because you could guess, you could sit
Because
there.
what if you just don't have a answer? Like, that's why I'm perceiving logic as like there's a certain process that leads me towards a certain answer, right? But if I don't have the answer, then what else do I use? What logic can I use in that situation?
I mean, you could think. You could
But
think
thinking
the
is just
situation
what,
through.
observing things, right, within your head.
I mean, kind of. I mean, thinking is more like applying yourself intellectually. Like, in order to think, like, you got to sit there and you got to play the situation out in your head. But that takes energy. Like, you got to, like, the blood has to be flowing in your brain for that to occur. And that's not going to happen unless you apply yourself. It's like going to the gym. Like, you go to the gym, right, Tajh?
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes. Don't lie to us, Tajh. Don't lie to us. Look at Tajh. Tajh is out here trying to front like he don't go to the gym. But look at all of us and look at Tajh. Tajh obviously goes to the gym.
Thank you.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, my bad. Ibtehuti's like, I go to the gym every day. So anyway, it's like going to it's like somebody that claims to go to the gym, right? Like Ibtehuti. So it's like you could be somebody that doesn't actually go to the gym. You can outlift me?
Yeah, I can lift you.
What's your
I
max?
can max 255. I maxed 255 twice on the
255
bench. Yeah,
twice?
255. Yeah.
That's it?
Well, let's go to the gym,
255?
bro. Let's go.
Bro, 255, that's what we used to work out with when I was in high school, bro. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, you out here, I did it twice. Okay, anyway, back to the real topic at hand, right? Is like you could have somebody that
Are we in a
claims...
locker room right now?
I know, right?
It's starting to smell in here.
You could have somebody that claims to do something, right? But you'll be able to tell whether or not the person actually does it by the way things play out.
Right.
Like, you could claim to be a thinker, but if you're not actually a thinker, then things aren't actually, like, the math that you present is not going to add up. It's like a liar. Like, people that lie, they don't count on you to be able to think about their lies. And then they're hoping that you're not going to be able to poke holes in whatever lie they're presenting to you. So, I mean, thinking is a thing that will not fail you. Because, I mean, this ties into our topic today, because our topic is about spirituality being something you can't fake and something you can't cheapen. Because a lot of people want spirituality to be what they want it to be, right?
Talk about it.
And spirituality is, because Tajh is bringing up a real interesting question and a real interesting perspective, right? Because you're talking about reality, right?
Right.
So then the question is, what is reality?
Reality is...
For a lot of people, right?
Reality is a perspective. It's what people live through themselves. So if I was to give an analogy, reality to me would be being in the gym every day, going through a certain failure that works for me but may not work for another person. But reality outside of me would be like I have to lift weights in order to gain weight, or I have to exercise or work out in order to gain muscle or weight, right?
So then what's the reality for somebody like Ibtehuti that's not in the gym every day?
Eating.
Come find me.
Bro, I mean, the thing is this, is like you can't say that you set your reality. And that's the problem. It's like we're dealing with, like, the pitfalls of a human being is the fact that, like, anything that you think in your mind, you could take as what you consider to be reality. But that doesn't make it reality. Because reality in and of itself is something that exists outside of you. And it comes from outside forces. You can't say that you set the reality. You exist within reality, but you can be disconnected from reality.
Facts.
It doesn't mean that you're actually aligned or attuned with reality.
And another part on the emotions versus logic, right? Is that a lot of times there'll be a person who will think, like you said, there'll be a person who says that they're accurate on their intuition maybe 90% of the time, right? Now, if I was a person who said that I was trying to lose weight and I went to the gym maybe once a week, but I ate ice cream and McDonald's 4 times a week. 9 times out of 10, when that person presents what's going on with them, they're going to remember the one time that they went to the gym every week, and they might maybe make it twice. Because that's how the human brain just works. It's like you remember the thing that's supposed to be good, like someone else is supposed to perceive as good, and then you sort of like fluff it up a little bit to make it seem like, oh yeah, like I'm doing the good thing. And then you reduce the thing that you don't want to remember because it doesn't apply to the goal that you're supposedly presenting, as, what you're doing or where you're going. So you got to be very careful when it comes to like dealing with a human being, because they're just the momentum is always to make yourself look like more than what you are, or to make yourself look good. So
Or to lie to yourself.
Especially like in the Western world right now, like there's men that want to make themselves look like women, and then you get into women's sports and be like, hey, there's no advantage for me.
Listen, I just have to say real quick, like if I grew up in this day and age, I would definitely be playing women's sports because I would just be like, I would be in the WNBA. I'd be in like the Women's World Cup right now.
You'd be in the volleyball.
I would be scoring every goal imaginable. Like I would be doing it totally.
But it's interesting when it comes to like spirituality, like New Age spirituality, and when we're like talking about reality, like. Before this, I was into a lot of different things.
Before this? What do you mean by that?
Before I was an initiate, I was into a lot of different
You
things.
said it with so much condescension. You're like, before I was an initiate.
Well, because
Peasant.
the thing is, I look back at it and I think like I didn't really know anything. I was really like living in this, I guess you could say like a false sense of reality, or like. Doing like tarot and thinking I was, doing some sort of.
Were you doing tarot card readings?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
for people?
Well, mostly for my wife, but sometimes for other people.
Do you guys still do them?
No.
Actually, I have 2 decks of tarots at home.
You still
I haven't
have them?
touched them.
We put all the.
Yeah, I did tarot back then as well.
We would put our
I
crystals.
was into witchcraft.
We would put our crystals under the moonlight, the full moon. You put your crystals on the moonlight. You get the full charge of the crystals.
And then what do you do with them?
And then you put them around your house, but then they're like fully charged, But that's the thing, like when it comes to reality and.
But for a second, Ibtehuti. Okay, so the charge, right? How could you tell that they were charged?
Because somebody told me that they would be.
But it was like you knew for sure. It was like you would go to the next person and be like, "Hey, put them out in the moonlight, and they'll be charged."
Yeah, it was just like an emotional thing. The crystals look nice,
Well, we know someone that still has crystals, but we're not going to say who. We're just going to look at them off camera as they avoid our eye contact.
But the point is like, I wasn't, like when it comes to New Age spirituality and reality, and having an understanding of like where these things come from, because these things are all just like, they come from somewhere, they have an origin, but then somewhere along the line in history, they kind of veered off, and then they became like an emotional thing, or like, the tarot is really pretty, and the decks and everything, and taken away from its traditional context, like going to like an ayahuasca circle with white people, or something of that nature. You know what I mean?
Dance around naked around a fire.
Right, or even.
Are you speaking from experience?
No, absolutely not.
Or even like marijuana. Like marijuana's been taken out of its traditional context, and it used to have to do with like getting people out of a specific type of mental state, and now it's like used recreationally. So it's just interesting. Like you take all of these things out of their traditional context, without having like an understanding of its origin, and it really like loses the reality in which, you know, we can really understand things. And also a lot of the times what we can perceive is usually like what we can see, like that's based on like science, right? So, and then that's kind of where we can segue and say, well, that's not the only reality we have.
Well, I mean, I think it just introduced something like important, right? Because like you're talking about tarot, right? Mm-hmm. And like we know that as initiates, like as you were saying, like we're all initiates. Everybody here is initiates. We're all at different, you know, points in our initiation, but we're all initiates, and we know and understand that as initiates, that tarot is what would be considered divination, right? And we know that divination in its original form is alive and well throughout the continent of Merita, or the continent of Africa, as a lot of people may know it. So even what we're talking about and what we're speaking on, we're speaking from experience in terms of seeing it, being initiated into it, understanding it to some degree, and, you know, varying different levels of it. And, you know, a lot of people want to talk about spirituality, but a lot of people don't want to talk about the origins of spirituality and how those origins of spirituality still exist to today. Because like Tajh and Ibtehuti were saying, you can talk about tarot, you could do tarot cards, you could do all of these different things. But people don't want to talk about the fact that divination in its original form, and even in the derivatives of the original form, are still very much alive and well in traditional indigenous Africa. And they don't want to talk about that and the power of it, because to do so would be to take away from the commodification
Mm-hmm.
and the legitimacy
False.
that, you know, Ibtehuti and his wife at some point doing tarot card readings for each other, Todd still having tarot card decks at home. Like, because I mean, at some point or another, you have to admit you bought into something.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't deny that you bought into something at some point.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because when you do a tarot reading, it kind of feels good. Like there's an element of, I mean, yeah, there's like the burning, what is it? The burning man, not the the burning castle.
You had
Are you talking about like Burning
Fallen
Man?
Tower,
The
which
Fallen
was
Tower.
a really bad one.
Yeah, so there
That's
are
a bad
some
one?
there
Why
are
is that
some
bad?
bad ones.
So the Falling Tower really represents, like, there's going to be a very impactful moment that's
Fallen
going to put you
Tower.
in a situation that you're going to be very uncomfortable in, right? And with the New Age spirituality, it was like, go with the flow, fluffy, you know, love is my guidance and all those other things. We didn't really like being uncomfortable or being in a situation where things get stressful or hard, right? But if you're ignoring something within your life, you have to deal with it. And that's one thing about me when I was in New Age spirituality. I would do tarot readings after tarot readings after tarot readings, because they were giving me a positive message,
Yeah.
but it wasn't saying, hey, you have work to fucking do to get this positive message.
Yeah.
So now I'm sitting on my ass thinking, nah, but
It's just
Shiva told me this.
Yeah, it's just emotional at the end of the day, and it's really like, in a way, it's like egotistical, because it's like, oh, how can I feel good about myself? And like all the New Age spirituality isn't necessarily based in reality, because it doesn't really bring up like your ancestors, and the fact that what you might be dealing with may not just be because of you. It may be because of, you know, a lineage or a bloodline that needs to be repaired, and you might just be the person that's out here that needs to do that work.
So I just want to put a break in the show real fast and just address some of the questions that are coming in the chat. Chem Warrior is asking, Chem Warrior, we appreciate you. you're here every week.
Kim Warrior, call us,
Yeah,
yo.
Kim Warrior, yeah.
I want to talk to
I
you,
hope you're a
bro.
real person, Kim Warrior.
Like, honestly.
Like, I hope you're not just like a bot, like a robot, like artificial intelligence somewhere,
Please.
just coming up with questions. But his question is, why is there a need for artificial intelligence? Can it be trusted? Before I answer that question, I'm going to direct you to an episode that we did on artificial intelligence and what that notion of intelligence is, where it comes from, you know, the basis of intelligence and who you could say gives you the thing known as intelligence. And please check out that that episode. And there's so many other resources. Oh, by the way, I wanted to ask you, what was the name of that the story that you told, that Master Naba told? Was that from a lecture, so we could shout that out?
It was just from a random lecture.
That's from a
Yeah, it was just a
Do you
random
remember
lecture.
the lecture?
Nah.
You're fired. So
Deep cuts.
check out any of our lectures on Vimeo. I don't know if you guys could pull that up, please, for the viewers. You could go to risingfirefly.org.
Put
You
the
could go
link,
to
put the
earthcenter.org.
Vimeo link.
Come
Yeah,
get
you
initiated.
can-
How about that?
And I mean, there's so many things. Let me plug a lot of the stuff that we're doing. It doesn't matter what temple you're at. If you're at one of the physical temples, you're close to one of the physical temples. If you would like to join our online temple or Temple of the Air, because I know if we say Temple of the Air, that might be a bit confusing, because you might think like, you know, you're gonna get in a plane or somewhere, you're gonna go up in the air, and the temple like exists in the air.
plane.
But like, we're talking about like a temple that exists, you know, in the non-material, right? Or goes through the non-material. We have the doors of initiation opening up on September 3rd at all of our locations. Here at the New Jersey Temple, the Houston Temple, the Baltimore Temple, or DC Baltimore Temple, Chicago, Canada, Toronto, Montreal, the two locations in the UK, Coventry, London, our temples in Merita, Ouagadougou. Please.
Upstate New York.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. Upstate New York, Salt Point. Are they opening? I don't know. Either or, you know, just check us out. Stay in the loop. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media, so that you can, you know, subscribe to our newsletters. You know, depending upon where you are, so that you can be in the loop, so that you can know about all of the different things that we're doing. We have so many events coming up next month in our local areas. So please, you know, wherever you are, get involved in whichever way you would like to.
What do we got going on in our local area?
So next month we'll be doing an event at the Newark Museum of Art. So we will have a very wonderful presentation. I don't know, you know, why a museum would particularly want to do this, but they are inviting an indigenous elder into their museum to illuminate some of their stolen pieces and artifacts. And yeah, you know, it's gonna be a wonderful, wonderful
I'm not
event.
gonna front. I'm very, 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 very excited about
Hyped.
this because I'm from Newark, and I'm like, man, I've, you know, been into that museum a bunch of times, and I've seen those artifacts, and now to know that somebody's gonna be like really be there to clarify, like, you know, what these things are, and, you know, why they. That's exciting. So all my Newark natives, come out, man.
It's called a workshop, Ancient Egypt, A Living Legacy. So please check that out.
Let's go.
We have many other events happening in the New York City area, the New Jersey area. So, you know, check us out on our landing page, Kebtah, KEBTAH-NJ.org. Everything that we're doing in the local area is listed there. And we have another question in the chat from Matthew Ruta. And his question is, how do we feel about the coup in Niger? And how does that affect the Earth Center, if it has any? So I like this. I really like this question.
Shout out Matt.
Yeah, shout out to Matt, Matthew Ruta. This is something we were going to talk about today. but we decided to have the conversation next week. And we were going to talk about a lot of the politics happening in the region of Africa. And I'll just say this. The tides are really changing globally. And a lot of regions that maybe have been at the mercy of the so-called superpowers are saying no more. And here at the Earth Center, we stand for the rise of intelligence. Mm-hmm. And we stand for the rise against tyranny in any form, any fashion. So I'm not going to say that we're against the coup in Niger. Because if the coup in Niger is happening in order to bring a new regime that's really going to stand for the people and stand for the best interests of the people in Niger, then hey, we're here for it. And as we like to say, in order to make an omelet, you gotta break some eggs. So, hey, if the government that's currently in power or was in power in Niger was standing against what the rest of the continent of Africa is doing in order to unite and come together and really take themselves out from underneath the so-called colonial superpowers, then yeah, then we're in support. Because it's time for you to go, because the European superpowers like to put in power so-called Africans that look like us, but they go to their schools, they go to their universities, they go to their places, they think like the Europeans, they work for the Europeans, they stand for the European policies. They're basically Europeans, or they're like Obama. They look like us, but on the inside they're white. It's like this guy. He's white on the outside, but he thinks like us. So, you know, they come in different forms, different, you know, different exteriors.
Different shades.
Different shades. So, yeah, we're for it. But that's kind of like a, you know, a plug for next week's episode, where we'll be talking about more about the political climate and the current, you know, politics that are really happening all throughout the continent of Merita. So check us out next week too. Chem Warrior is asking, is voodoo, Chem Warrior, did you even think about the answer we gave you for the first question? But Chem Warrior is asking, is voodoo a spirituality, and is it good or bad? Yeah, it's spirituality. It's just a derivative of the original civilization of spirituality, or the original cradle of civilization in terms of Kemetic, you know, spirituality. So yeah, don't believe the hype in terms of the way that they demonized ancestral practices and ancestral veneration in order to be able to come in and then replace it with the, you know, the slave master's tools in order to take over like religion. So
it
yes,
goes
of
beyond
course.
that too. It's like the movies, you know, anything that's sort of depicted as something that's like not explainable. You know, the movies in Insidious, and you know, all those kinds of movies where something that you don't see normally just kind of like shows up. It's like it has to be evil.
They call it supernatural.
Right. And then, you know, what are you going to tell a little kid when they see that kind of stuff? When little kids might actually be seeing those kinds of things and not having aversion towards them. And then as an adult, you're the one with some sort of a understanding of life, and you pose that aversion towards those things, or that being afraid of those things is the right way to go about life. So then those kids end up not knowing how to really deal with those things. So, you know, it's a lot deeper than even just religion and those kinds of things. It's just a part of the cultureless culture that we had.
Matthew, well, first DeMarcus has a question. I plan on initiating online, but I start trade school in August. Is it realistic for me to manage school and initiation at the same time? Find out. I mean, I can't speak for your life, DeMarcus. I don't know. But, you know, give it a shot.
Yeah, your life will forever change, that's for sure. especially, well, just speaking for myself in particular, like my wife and I, we were living in Brooklyn at the time when we started initiation, and we were driving about an hour and a half every morning to Jersey to the Newark Temple when we were in Newark. And over time, you know, as things kind of ramped up, we realized the benefits of being closer to a temple, and we ended up moving to Jersey, which for me wasn't so simple because I'm from Brooklyn and I have a lot of attachment to the city, you know, and then, you know, Jersey had a stigma for me personally, but honestly, like, we made that sacrifice. You're going to end up making certain sacrifices if this is the path that you choose, and that's just how it is.
I would say the same thing. When I first started, like, it was going to be a no for me because of my financial instability, right? And I don't know, there was just something in me that said just give it a try. And the moment I started my initiation, you know, I got a raise. You know, I became manager at my job, and then things started aligning a lot better for me, and I had a way to come to the temple, and I had the money to come to the temple as well. So, you know, like, give it a shot. You never know.
So I'm just going to stop Tajh right there, and I'm going to tell you, DeMarcus, that may not work the same way for you.
It's different for everybody.
It's different for everybody.
Of course.
It may end up being the exact opposite. But
it kind of shows you what you need at the end of the day.
I didn't get a raise.
Yeah.
I didn't get a raise. Yeah, I didn't get a raise.
I actually had to quit my job.
Yeah,
I got
like-
fired.
You got fired? Yeah. So I mean,
Sorry.
it depends. It depends. But you know, check it out, DeMarcus. It's only gonna work through your own imperial. I mean,
Imperialism.
No, it's gonna happen through your own experience. That's the word I was looking for, but for some reason I can't talk. But it's gonna happen through your own experience. So, you know, just give it a shot and find out if it works. If it doesn't, we're here for you. There's many other ways you can be in it. You can be involved in the work. It's not only through initiation. There's so many different ways. So you can check out the website and, you know, continue to tune in, continue to be a viewer and a supporter of everything that we do. It doesn't necessarily mean it's got to look one way. Matthew said, I know you're going to be addressing this next podcast. Supposedly they're siding with Russia. If that's not another superpower, but we'll address it later. Thanks for the answer. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can consider Russia a superpower, but it's more like, you know, at least the way that Russia's going to be standing with the African countries is not going to be standing with the African countries in a way where they're keeping them under their thumb. And it's more like as a comrade. So shout out to Russia. Chem Warrior said, how do you know if you're ready for initiation?
Wow.
That was a long sigh.
Everyone kind
That was a
of.
long sigh.
I would just say this. You're never ready for anything. And the only way to find out if you're ready for something is to do it. And then you find out if you're ready or not. And if you're not, look, the church is waiting for you. Like, the temple is waiting for you. The temple of, what did Jews call synagogue? The synagogue is waiting for you.
Too.
Yeah, whatever. That's a synagogue. The synagogue is waiting for you.
But you know, the thing is like, if this
The
is
mosque.
if this is the path that you're crossing at this juncture in your life, that means that your spirit has been trying to do this, or maybe even has done this in a past life. So this isn't the first time that you've come across this. So just know that.
What would be the logical approach?
What would be the logical approach? I would say that everybody, like, again, everybody's logic is going to be different, because there's some people that come into initiation and then when things get difficult, then they're like, well, the logic is I'm not supposed to be doing anything that's hard. And then there's some people that are like, well, I'm seeing the benefit of having to work to earn something. Because people want spirituality to be this thing where it becomes about you being able to make it what you want it to be, right? And this ties in, again, going back to the topic, is
It's
that
easy.
spirituality is hard.
It's very hard.
It's very difficult because even when you go back to Africa, you go back to Medita, you see that people are living in a way where it's like, you think if someone had the opportunity to maybe choose to live an easier life, they wouldn't take it. But people choose to not take the easy way out because anything that's easy comes with a certain shortcut. Anything that's easy comes with a certain, like, you know, like
sweetness,
like a certain sweetness. Like anything that's actually good for you doesn't taste good, but anything that's bad for you tastes phenomenal.
Word.
Right? And that's the thing, is things that are good for you aren't going to appear to be easy and aren't going to be fun. But it's like when you become a true adult, you learn and understand that, like, okay, you don't get to just do things based on it being fun or based on it being easy. Like, there are people that wake up at 4 a.m. to go to work, and they don't do it because it's fun. They do it because they got to support and provide for their family. And that's the thing, is why would spirituality be any different? Why would spirituality start to become this thing where you're now able to make it easy? Because, like, life doesn't function like that. Like, you can't cheat life. Life always comes to make you pay. It doesn't matter what you're doing. But today, people now want life to be what they want it to be. That's why people can decide to say, I'm going to change my gender, or I'm going to be this, or I'm going to be that. But at the end of the day, if I decide to identify as a Russian Jewish person, and I walk into Russia, they're going to be like, are you really? You said they would accept me?
Yeah. You put a yarmulke on. No problem. No problem.
Tutibsaa is a chameleon.
I think
we,
you
asked
need to go.
we asked the Indian lady at a concierge desk one time, and she was like, this guy is Mexican.
Yeah, she didn't accept me as an Indian person. She was like, you're not Indian, you're Mexican. So, I mean, it kind of, you know, that's the thing, is like, we like to say, give yourself a chance. And give yourself a chance by going through the process. Like, if you're fat and overweight, like, let's say you're like 400 pounds, right? Like, you can go get gastric bypass or whatever it is, or like a stomach band put on your stomach, or you can go get liposuction. They can suck out all the fat with a vacuum. Like, but you're still gonna be like, if you go out and you still eat like donuts, and you still eat, you know, you still drink Coke, and you still drink Pepsi and soda, and you eat like everything under the sun, and you don't care, then there's no real change. And that's the thing, is like, you don't get to make life about shortcuts. Life is life. And you can't make spirituality what you want it to be. It's not coming from you. It's not something you get to decide what it's going to be. So when we go to these places in Africa and you see people that are practicing true spirituality, real spirituality, and they're living modest lives, and they're living lives where they're not, you know, rolling in a Rolls Royce, or they're not, you know, like, you know, living these so-called developed lives, and they're still enveloped in the envelope of nature. That's for a reason. That's because they understand that nature is reality. That nature is not the thing that's far removed from you that you can watch a Netflix special and learn about nature and go watch, you know, Earth.
Our planet.
Or Our Planet, or any of those things that you can find. That's not what nature is. It's very different. It's very real. Nature seeing the lion go kill the gazelle, but then go back to its pride, go back to its family. Can you consider the lion bad? Can you consider the lion good? Or is the lion just solely existing and being true to its nature? So initiation is about the human being understanding their nature. So you're never going to be ready to understand yourself, but you will learn how to meet yourself wherever you are. So if you're having, you know, questions about whether you're ready or not, that's for you to decide, Chem Warrior.
Yeah, it's like the Lauryn Hill song. I mean, the
I was
Fuji
just
song.
thinking the
Right?
same thing.
It's ready or not, here I come. It's like either way. Either way.
And that's like the thing about, like, actual spirituality. Like when you get into it, it makes me think like I very much so, if I had the ability to, right, would love things to be easier, especially like with this whole idea of AI and instant gratification. It makes life just so much easier to just do, right? Like there's always constant work to do with yourself and with outside of yourself as well. Like you know, there are times where it's just like, yo, there's when my emotions take over, there are times where I'd rather have a what do you call it, a sentient artificial intelligent being working for me, and I can just stay home and play video games and watch X videos all day, but my spirit needs work, you know.
X videos? You mean like porn, Touch? X videos?
With the VR glasses on.
You know, someone asked me the other day, they're like, yo, bro, have you tried that VR stuff? And I was like, no, I haven't. But I knew exactly what they were getting at. And I was like, have you? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, did you watch porn? And then he just busted out laughing. And then I was like, you did, didn't you? You watched porn with the VR glasses. He was like, I just had to see what it was like. He was like, I just had to try it. I was like, how long? I was like, you know what? I don't even want to know. I was like, but, you know, it's you know, people are out there watching VR, not living real lives.
No, but to touch on that question about, you know, being ready, like, and what the logical thing to do is, right? It's like, where are you really starting from? Like, what's the thing that sort of tugged on you at some point, pause, to
Pause. No pause.
to really
No, Todd, no.
please no. What really, you know, got your attention to make you think, like, there has to be something that's valid within that, like whatever that is, that I need to really reassess within myself, you know? And then it's like, okay, well, what is the goal of that thing, right? Where does that take you? What destination does that really lead to, right? And then that'll start to reveal some of the values, the principles, the taboos, the do's and do nots of whatever you're looking at, no matter what it is. And then from that point, you have to be honest enough with yourself to say, does that match what I'm trying to do? And is that going to take me where I want to go, right? Because from the outside in, when I didn't really know exactly what Kemetic spirituality was, from the outside, it's like, yeah, voodoo looks scary. Like, you know,
God, it's evil.
Hearing anything, you know, spiritual looks scary. Growing up in a Christian household, or any household where it's not about like a actual spiritual principle, and it's about getting your emotions into, like, as long as you can direct someone's momentum towards their emotions rather than their logic, you'll always be able to kind of curtail them away from like looking for the truth, because you can even know the truth, but if you don't have the courage to actually like apply some logic and think about what it is, then you'll automatically just go with what your emotions are telling you to do. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I can speak from just my personal experience. Like, right before I started initiation, it was like COVID was rampant at that point. Like, we were in lockdown. We were like knocking on pots and pans. You guys remember that?
No.
You don't remember? Everyone was like knocking on pots and pans to like you know, commemorate all of the first responders, or the, you know, the nurses and.
Wow.
Yeah,
You were
everyone
like
was
hanging
doing
out your video
at the
hanging out
window,
your
like,
window, like hitting.
and
the
everyone
pot.
was doing it. Yeah, everyone was kind of like, oh, kumbaya. But you know, I just started.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I just started to kind of question things, like, you know,
Sensational.
yeah.
What'd you say?
I just started to question things. My wife and I were questioning things like, why is this happening? Like, what's going on with COVID? Why is the government putting us on lockdown? Like, what's with these new vaccines that are about to be popping up? Like,
Were you guys questioning those things as you were banging on the pot out the window?
Yeah. And then we were banging it on our head. But yeah, so we were asking ourselves all these questions, and then also in that same moment in time, we were also thinking about family. We were thinking about starting a family. So all of those things kind of happen at the same time. So all of those questions led us down this path. So if you're starting to have those questions, if there's something personal in your life that you're trying to get to some answers but you don't have the answers, like this might be the path for you, and this might be the time for you. And maybe the time for you is in a year. Maybe the time for you is in 5 years.
But ask those questions.
Yeah.
That's like the vital part.
Yes.
Like, ask those questions and go as far as you can to get those answers.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you can't see the master that's behind the master, then that's another question to answer. Like, where did that person get what they got from? All right? A lot of us will go to college and listen to a professor talk for hours and never think, where is he getting this material from?
Mm-hmm.
Who told him to say this?
A book?
Right?
Yeah, I was going to say the curriculum.
And if
Right.
that's the case, why don't I just go to the book myself? 9 times out of 10, if I go to the book myself, I'm going to get a bunch of things that the professor never said because he can't regurgitate an entire book on his own. But if I go to the book, then that just leads me to another person. And who is that person getting what they're saying from? And then you just follow that trend. You just continue to follow that backwards. But 9 times out of 10, if I'm being honest with you, I did that so many times before I came to initiation, and things just kept leading me back to what they call Egyptology, or the Egyptian mystery schools, right? It always led back to that. That became the origin of all of these things, no matter what I was looking into.
Can I just ask you a question real fast?
What?
Did you ever join any of those Egyptian mystery schools that you can find online?
I honestly, it just didn't have the right vibe, man. I can't really put it any other way.
What were people doing? Like, what did you find?
Even from afar, it just looked like,
You could see them holding hands.
what is...
They like have the onk.
Shout out Baba Huru.
Dr.
Because
Fate.
even like, okay, you take a Christian, for instance, right? They go to church and they dress up. They go to church and they get dressed up, right? But when they leave church, they just put their regular clothes back on.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Don't
it's-
dirty up your church clothes, but go put something else on.
That's it. It's like you go live your life as a regular person. So eventually, like, I was doing certain research, and I just found out that, like, the way that you walk around in like a outfit kind of for the world, that doesn't have any bearing on what you're actually doing. No knock to I'm knocking them. The Jews, right? The whole thing with Dave Chappelle when he came out and he said it, it's like the Jews are running Hollywood and they're doing all of these terrible.
Yeah, I was
said
going to say,
it.
Kanye West said that.
Yeah.
It wasn't Dave Chappelle too?
No, Dave Chappelle.
He
was-
affirmed it.
He affirmed it, but in a very intelligent way.
Okay.
And there are a lot of Jews.
But yeah, it's like, okay,
A lot.
they'll walk around and they're Orthodox, they're whatever kind of Jews they are, and they walk around with their outfits on every day. But who knows what they're really doing behind closed doors, if they're the ones who have the keys to all of these doors in Hollywood and these places where we know that these things that aren't okay are happening in politics, all that kind of stuff. So then it's like, if that's a part of your values, then how can I kind of be aligned with that, right? I came across the whole Hebrew Israelite thing, but it's like, it's like, why do that if there's a branch of it that I can identify, and that is identifying itself like openly to be doing specific things that don't align with my goal. So you just get down to the nitty gritty of it, and it's like, where's all of that coming from? And it kept leading back to, like I said, Egyptian spirituality. And eventually I came across, the Dogon through some research, and it's like, okay, well, if this is where all of this research is leading to, then why not give myself a chance with that? And when I saw it, it was just like the logic that was presented sort of confirmed outright that you have to see what's behind the master to be able to confirm whether or not it's actually like the truth, and if that truth is going to take you where you want to go. And then it's just up to you to be honest with yourself. Like, is this where I want to go? It's that simple.
And you bring up a good point, because nothing is asking, or it says, I agree, start as far in the beginning as you can go, your spirit will guide you. Yeah, your spirit will guide you, but your spirit needs a master. You need a discipline. You need to have a discipline, you need to be a disciple, and you have to have a master. And then, like Kenibashu was saying, you can see what that master is really standing behind, what that goal really is, what, to really help your spirit evolve, because really that's the point of spirituality, is like the evolution of your spirit and the continuation of your spirit.
So there's a few things that I kind of want to address in one full swoop. Is someone's asking, Stones TV is asking, is it a difference between a spiritualist, a herbalist, and a magician? And
Jafar.
Jafar, we were working the other day, and we had Aladdin on in the background, and Jafar has some of the greatest quotes of all time. Like when
speechless.
yeah, he's supposed to get married.
In a woman.
No. He's supposed to get married to Jasmine, and Jasmine is like, I can't believe it. And then he's like, oh, you're speechless. That's a great quality for a wife to have.
Shout out Robin Williams.
Yeah, wherever his spirit is. Okay, so yeah. And then, there's just a few comments in there, here and there. But, here's the thing. And this really ties into what we started talking about in terms of the topic. And when Tajh was asking the question about logic and reality. And this is the thing, is like the only thing that you're going to find the only thing that you're going to find as an initiate in initiation is the work that's going to force you to learn how to think and to be a thinker. Because the most dangerous person on the planet is somebody that thinks. Because no matter where you find yourself, you can adapt. Because you start thinking. And a lot of people want to talk about the approach of, Egyptian mystery schools and ancient Egypt and the knowledge that built the pyramids. And that's a very easy trap to kind of fall into when you neglect what was the thinking behind why someone would say, hey, we need to build the pyramids. Instead of thinking, okay, like, how do I build the pyramids? It's sort of like, what was the thinking that went behind it? Like, what would be the thinking that would say to somebody, like, we need to build the pyramids? What would be the purpose of the pyramids, right? And I think if you start asking those kind of questions, then you can start yourself on the path of learning to be a thinker. Because that's all you're going to find in initiation, is things forcing you to learn how to think. There's a story when Alexander the Great showed up to the mystery schools, and he was presented with a very large knot. And they said to him, okay, unwind the knot. And Alexander the Great took his sword out and cut through the whole knot. And then the priest in the temple said to him, that's the kind of leader you will be. Based on the way you approach that situation, that's the kind of leader you will be. And that's the thing, is all you're going to find in initiation is your own pitfalls of the way you think, the way you approach things, the way you are looking at things, your perception, and how much you have to unravel in order to get yourself as close to nature in terms of aligning your perception as close to the reality of nature as possible. That's what you're going to find. It's nothing magical. It's nothing that's going to come in and like make you say like, oh my God, like, wow. You might do that when you realize how stupid you are.
Exactly.
Or you might do that when you realize how far down in the hole of just like, you know, like stupidity you are. But that's all you're going to get, is you're going to learn how to be a thinker and how to question everything intelligently and how to learn how to start asking the right questions in order to align yourself with the reality of nature so that you don't find yourself outside looking in. Because when you look at the planet and you look at every entity on the planet, cats don't have a hard time fitting into nature. Dogs don't have a hard time fitting into nature. Lions, hyenas, you name it, everything, birds, the trees, the rivers, all of those things are naturally fitting into nature. But human beings, we're here still like, what is the meaning of life? Why am I here? Like, why do I exist? Like, what am I supposed to do? What's my purpose?
It's just philosophical masturbation.
And I mean, those are valid questions. But they're only valid questions when you don't have the ability to find yourself understanding the way that at some point or another your ancestors were functioning.
Right.
Because it's very difficult to go against yourself, but you have to understand that there's a very strong con job that was done in order to keep everybody to go against themselves. Because to say that your ancestors are evil, you're just saying that the person that gave you life is evil. How can you say your mom or your dad is evil if your mom or your dad clothed you, fed you, raised you, loved you, is the reason why you exist? It doesn't make sense.
You become the child of evil.
You become the child of evil. So it just, there's a lot of pitfalls of the things that they can do to kind of put you in the frame of mind that they want to put you in order to keep you from, you know, thinking. So that's all you're going to get as an initiate, is you're going to learn how to think. You're going to learn how to think for yourself and ask the right questions.
Well, when it comes to the meaning of life, I would say that the meaning of life is kind of simple. Like, spirituality is really like about family. And when I had a child, when I had my son, I realized like I'm not living for myself.
Yeah, that's
It's
a big point. It's like
simple.
the logic of self-preservation becomes that you understand that life keeps going on. Life continues. So if I came from a mother and father who, right, my father and my mother maybe preserved certain parts of themselves out of some understanding that, you know, one day this child is going to grow up and they're going to have to be able to depend on me for certain things, right? So then, you know, they live their life like that, and then I grow up, and then it's like, okay, well, that's just the springboard that I have to work from. I just become a platform, right, for the next person that comes after me. And my parents were just a platform, and their parents were just a platform. So then self-preservation isn't necessarily about me, myself, being able to say like I'm great. It's about my grandkids turning back and seeing like what I left behind and saying like it was great, not because it's like, oh, he's like some cool guy, but it's like, hey, this is where I get to come in from. Like I didn't get it like a shitty position, because that guy actually took care of himself and took care of the spiritual things that he needed to take care of for himself. So now I have that to start from.
Yeah, I mean, let's say there are two islands. Let's say there's an island A and there's an island B. Right?
Hey, why are you grinning like that?
Yeah, I know. And it's like, I've been waiting for this.
I've been thinking about this a long time. No, I was just thinking, like, you know, on island A, You have a lot of the people that we like to cater to now in this kind of pseudo-liberal environment, the transgender, gay, LGBTQIA. So you have all of those people living on that island, on that one specific island. And then on the other island,
Crazy island.
And then on island B, you have families. You have people that are, working towards their spiritual evolution. What you'll find in 100 years is that there won't be anybody on island A.
Well, yeah, they will be there.
There'll be clones.
If they
and
just if they start actually
cyborg
admitting the
babies.
fact that the only way that they can return is if the biological male and the biological female procreate.
If that does occur.
Yeah, if that happens, yeah.
Right, but Island B's got it figured out. And if you think, going back to what Tutibsaa said, all the animals and all of the trees and everything, they wouldn't even question which island to be on. Of course they would be on B.
Exactly.
Everything else in the universe.
Literally everything else. That's a great way to put it.
So, there's a question here. Matthew Ruda is coming with some good questions and pertinent questions. He's asking, what do we think about the logic of the U.S. government and alien acknowledgement? All right. So, you have a lot to say?
It's a distraction.
Well, I mean, it's true. It's a distraction, and we got to talk about why it's a distraction. And I would just say this. Aliens are real, right? Before we go any further, aliens are real. And then I would then add the second part in that they're not what you think they are. And then I would add a third part and say that the aliens that the government is talking about aren't real. And I would add a fourth part, and I would say that the government doesn't have anything to give you, and then when you're like a paper tiger, or when you're somebody that's trying to, when you're a con artist, you know that you must court attention at all costs. So that means you only are as good as the last thing that you did in order to get everyone's attention. And that's what the government has to do. They have to keep you buying in to them having some sort of legitimacy and authority by making you believe that they have more power and secrets and things that they actually don't have. So that's what you're dealing with these so-called, proceedings from Congress and all this kind of stuff, and all these people coming out talking about we're disclosing UFOs, is that they're just trying to keep you investing in the system by dangling the carrot in front of you that courts and continues to keep your attention invested there, by trying to make it seem like there's another frontier that you have to discover. And the thing is this, is you can only go so far in the physical realm before you understand that there's more to discover in the non-material realm than there is in the physical realm. So they have to pull out all the stops in order to keep you invested and distracted in the physical realm. So that's what they're doing. Aliens, in the way that they're talking about it, aren't real. Aliens exist in another form, but they exist in the invisible realm. And they only reveal themselves and show up to people that have proven that they're worthy to be revealed to. And that happens through a process of real spirituality. And that has nothing to do with the government.
And, quick side note, it's spirituality is dynamic in that way, right? Because now you could hear that and you could think that only somebody who has been through a specific initiation or yada yada could be able to perceive those things, right? But like I said earlier, if your grandfather was doing this and he built himself up to a place where he could perceive those things and have dialogue with those things and be able to, really interact with those things, then it's very possible that just the blood in your veins being in your veins, one day, just wake up it could be activated, and then you can start seeing those things and think that you're crazy, think that you're out of your mind. But that's spirituality. You as a spirit just may have access to certain things and have a predisposition to be able to, you know, perceive certain things and interact with certain things. So it's dynamic like that. I just wanted to make that, you know, side note.
Also, it's like it's presumptuous of us to think that we've reached like the pinnacle of like technological advancement, like where we are now, and what by, you know, saying that we, you know, that there are aliens or that the aliens built the pyramids is just really denying the intelligence of your ancestors.
Yeah, I mean, but they have to do that in order to keep you invested in the system. And even to talk about something like the system, like you're just talking about making sure that there's no holes or there's no loopholes or there's nothing that allows anything to fall through the cracks. That's what you consider a system. And the reason why we talk about, you know, the European society as a system is because it's started by colonizers, and it was done deliberately in order to make sure that everything that you do and everything that you say and everything that you think and everything that you can consider is already accounted for within their society. That's why it's considered a system. And they know that people know that there's more to life. Like, people are sitting there wondering, like, what happens when you die? But then they have everything figured out because they have religion there waiting for you.
It is well curated.
It's very well curated. And then when you think like, oh, but man, a man in the sky is there. And then like, so then what happens? Like, where do you come from? Like, do people, like, where do the babies come from? So then like, do they come from heaven? Do they come from hell? Like, so then where are the spirits coming from? Like, because if you die, so then is it just like people are waiting in line? Like, and then it's just like a never ending, you know, like line to come here, and then you only live once, and then like once you've proven yourself, then you go to heaven. And then for those people that start asking real logical questions, and they're like, the Big Bang and it's science. And the Earth has been here for thousands and millions of years.
So far away from you, exactly.
Yes. And you cannot even fathom it. Just
we
do your
figured it out.
calculations.
Well, we figured it out.
We have it. You don't. Shut up. Go watch Oppenheimer. And
Oh my God.
and like that's it. And then for those people, then they're like, well, nothing exists. For those people that question that or don't believe in that, then there's another area waiting for you, which is the realm of politics. And the realm of politics is waiting for you, because then when you're like, well, I don't think religion and I don't think science is the way, and I think what we have to do is we have to worry more about what we're doing in this day and age, and we have to worry about how we're going to do it and what we're going to do, and policing each other and doing all of this stuff and all of these policies that we must enact to make the world better, because we don't know how long we're going to be here, and we don't know this and we don't know that. And it's a very well curated system. We know and we learn in the initiation that the system in and of itself has three main pillars that they use in order to keep everybody locked in, and they all work together behind the scenes, but publicly they present themselves as opposing forces. And that's religion, politics, and science. And we know those things, and we really learn a lot about how to kind of pierce behind the mystery of it. But to the uninitiated, it's very difficult because of how good of a job they do presenting themselves as not being and working in conjunction with one another.
The really interesting thing about the system, right, is that it doesn't function like a computer functions on like ones and zeros. So what does a system of people have to function on? It has to function on people. And you become the ones and zeros. So, right, so then you get the atheist pocket, right? Those are the people who have been through all of the experiences with different religions and then decided that maybe there's possibly something that's higher or something, but I don't know what it is, and I'm not willing to even go into that conversation. So then they end up in their pocket. That's like a certain number of ones and zeros that like add up inside the system, and you go over in this place. And then there's, the Christians. You got a certain number of ones and zeros that add up. You go in this place. You got the Islamic people. They go in that place. But it all continues to just work together. Then you have the politicians who aren't, like Tutibsaa was saying, they aren't really too worried about religion or science, but they find ways for those things to fit into politics. They apply policies to those things, and then they just end up in their own pocket. So you got to be very diligent because a lot of people are out there like the system, and not realizing that you yourself are what fuels it. So what part now are you actually thinking of playing? Because every computer can get a virus, right?
Our Agent Smith.
Right? Are you going to be Neo or are you going to be Agent Smith in the Matrix?
Agent Smith is the one.
Exactly. But yeah, it's very easy to find yourself in a place within the system, like we just talked about in our last episode with revolutionaries, and how Makaru was really one of the only real revolutionaries that we've ever seen inside of this modern system, because it's not about taking the studies and the scholarship and all of these things that have come out of these institutions, these people that have written these books, who've graduated from these institutions, who have just gotten information from those the descendants of those slave masters, to just hand it back to those slaves and say, like, this is your history. It's not about going to them. It's about thinking bigger than that, and then saying, okay, well, what's outside of that? Who are the people that they're marginalizing to not have their information end up in universities? Let's go to them. And let's figure out what those people's ancestors have stood on for thousands of years that help them to even be able to sustain themselves until this day, because they don't need the universities. So maybe I don't either.
Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna take a few more questions and we're gonna wrap it up. But one of the questions is, yeah, I had a feeling, is that why you have people having awakenings and are being discredited as bipolar, like Kanye? Not saying Kanye has it figured out. He's got a long way to go. DeMarcus said, Kim Warrior said, how to gain spiritual power, like flying, telepathy, amongst others. And then DeMarcus said, wait, we can fly. And then Cam Warrior, are you guys just now like just going off on weird tangents? And then Cam Warrior said, are you saying there's no flying saucer? And then Matthew Ruta said, wait, I'm not a supporter of the system, but would we not have the society and tech that we have built without it? I agree the way the system was built is messed up, but we have it now. And then Cam Warrior said, so there's no contact with other worlds in the physical realm. Okay, so there's a lot there, right? It seems like you guys are just kind of going off on your own like discussions and tangents. But so Matthew Ruta, yes, the system doesn't have a way to classify what you would consider a spiritual predisposition. Therefore, like what you would call like, or what people would call in the modern, I mean the new age way of like a awakening. And so what they do is they classify it as like schizophrenic or, bipolar and things like that. And they do that because what it does is it allows them to continue to present themselves as an authority of understanding what's going on. They tell you that you have a chemical imbalance in your brain, when in actuality you have a brain that's functioning properly and is able to access and probe other dimensions. And then they tell you that there's something wrong with you, and you're able to communicate or understand or dialogue with entities from other dimensions. Kim Warrior said, how do you gain spiritual power, like flying, telepathy, amongst others? I'm not answering that question. DeMarcus said, wait, can we fly? I'm not answering that question either. Kim Morris, are you saying there's no flying saucer? Not answering that question either. Go ahead.
My answer is very simple. It's very, very, very simple. Naba Irita Shemira actually just did a interview. I'm gonna plug somebody else's YouTube real quick. I never knew TV. He the same guy that interviewed Dr. Umar Johnson. Dr. Umar, pull up. What's up? You come on the show, bro.
Stop running.
But yeah, he just did a interview that touches on some of those things. So go check that out. I never knew TV.
And then, yeah, thank you for that, because I wasn't about to. Not tonight. I'm not a supporter of the system, but would we not have the society and tech that we have built without it? Yeah, but like, the thing is, this is, like we like to say, you'll never see a path without a destination, and you'll never see a destination without a path. You'll never see your home without a path that leads to it, and you'll never see a path without a home that the path will lead to. And that means you have to sit there and you have to question if this whole system and society was based on going against indigenous principles, which means fitting into nature, then it means that that's where the path is going to take you. It's going to take you against nature. So I'm just going to leave it there. So there's no contact with other worlds in the physical realm? Yes, there's contact with other realms. Can't this colonial system last for another 50 years? I don't know. I don't know when the system's going to fall, but it's going to fall eventually. Everything goes through a natural incline and decline. It's already falling. Can you please plug everything that we're doing in the New Jersey area for us, please?
Yes. So, like Tutibsaa was saying, we have an event happening in Newark that's coming up. That will be a talk that we're giving on, just finding the date. Do you have the date for that event? I might.
Are you talking about you talking about the New York Museum? It's August 12th.
Yeah, so we have the New York event coming up on August 12th, and we also have a couple of vending events coming up. Cielo Mystic in Union City, and my phone just died, and you can check us out at on our website. It's Kebtah. What is our website?
Seriously, you're fired. Okay, so it's kebtah-nj.org.
Okay.
I felt like I was talking the whole time, so I was like, let me get someone else to talk. But Ibtehuti was like, I don't want to talk.
Lost in space.
Yeah.
Majority of those questions that were being asked, it was very new agey, like context, like you mean like the aliens aren't like or the flying sources type question, and flying and telepathy. In the world of Instagram Reels and TikTok, you have a lot of people that claim that they have telekinesis or they can do telepathy as well, and they'll try and present them. And you have a lot of people talking about like the Anunnaki with the whole aliens being said that or proof of within the government as well. And I was going to say like it's all a distraction because of like how things are happening in such a sequential order when it comes towards presidential elections, right? So usually when we're in months away or a year away within presidential elections, there's always something happening to distract us from what is about to happen within the world, right? And you have a lot of things like Neuralink or Neuralink being FDA approved, or the metaverse, or What's another thing that's happening?
Too many things.
Yeah, whatever else is that's being exposed within the world to lead us to this new agenda, it is just moving us in that emotion for us not to be essentially thinkers, right? And it's actually taking our power away from being thinkers and saying, where is this actually coming from, and why is it happening at this moment in time, right? Like CERN, another big thing that was that's happening within the background, where they donate a lot of money to CERN, where they're creating portals and using, I think they're using dark matter, such as the Higgs particle, right?
Well, this is the thing, is like all of that stuff is just there to make you think that they have things that they don't. Because they don't have it, and they want you to think that they have it. It's like, you know that like guy that's always posting on Instagram, like acting like he has money, but then he's secretly messaging you or calling you and being like, can I borrow some money? That's the government. That's the way that the government functions. Is that they're that person that's always posting about having it when they don't have it. And that's the difference between real spirituality and fake spirituality. It's like you either have it and you're not going to act like you have it, or you don't. And that's the thing, is there's a lot of nonsense out there. There's a lot of misleading bullshit out there. And, you know, just learn to think for yourself and learn how to, you know, start asking the right questions. And that's going to lead you down the path of real spirituality, is when you understand that there's no shortcuts and you got to work for everything and anything. And once you understand that, that will lead you to what we call the first gate of the gates. There's been another episode of the Gate of Gates podcast. We appreciate you for tuning in. We'll be here next week. We might have a different lineup. Like my brother's in Jamaica traveling right now. Some of us may not be here next week. I'm not going to say who. We'll be here.
Of initiation.
But we will be here next week. Gate of Gates will be coming to you. Doors of Initiation opening up September 3rd at all our different locations. Check us out. September 3rd, every location will have the Doors of Initiation opening up. So check us out wherever you are. We got locations in Jersey, locations in Houston, locations in upstate New York, Chicago, Houston, Toronto, Montreal, Coventry, London, Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. We have a location opening up in
San Francisco.
San Fran, not necessarily San Fran, but in the Bay Area. It's probably going to be in Oakland. Baltimore. So, you know, hey, we'll be here. We're here for you. Reach out if you want to, you know, come on the show, maybe talk. If you're in the New Jersey area, or even if you want to join through Zoom, send us an email at nj@theearthcenter.org. nj@theearthcenter.org. We'll be here. Again, we appreciate you tuning in, and may you continue to tune in, and we'll see you guys next week. Idiot.
Idiot.